Because I simply there's a pattern called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday pattern, and I can go through that. So in a sense, that Thursday pattern has actually now, shall we say, the pattern is complete, if you will. Does that mean that I want to go full-blown, take out a second mortgage loan? Probably not. No, I would like to actually just have a normal conventional school run signal. Okay, so that is the, shall we say, the bigger picture. You can substantiate that by going out to an hourly chart, and you sort of get a sense of where the DAX is, still arguably within the confines of a trading range. And what we have done just now is that, like we did yesterday, we did a 50% retracement, but understandably here, that is actually measured. So, I'm putting the cart before the horse. We've just done a 50% retracement now, and we are doing a somewhat of a double bottom retest of this area here, just below 25,000. So that's how I read, so let's say, the bigger picture. Now I will then focus on, what do I do now? Well, the mood is bearish, but it is perhaps not as bearish as one like to think, which means that this inside bar on the school run, the second 15-minute bar, to me could be traded either way. And so therefore, I would like to be long the DAX above 977. But how I think I would like to play it is also maybe not be in a rush to buy it, because I think this start here to the day will have shocked a few bulls, and so they might not be in a rush to, so to speak, pile in. Over at the FTSE index, we got a first bar negative and then a second bar positive. If you look at it on a 5-minute chart, you got what's called a V reversal. And now, if I had an opportunity, I would perhaps like to be a buyer at 106.82, because that's where the break is. And you sort of have to think, this area here is an area where I would define that as a buy zone. If we then go back to the DAX and we clear out these drawings and we look at the 5-minute chart, why don't we just look at the espresso and then we'll look at the FTSE first bar negative. So here's the pre-market defined as 25.045 and 25.9. And if we then add 17 points to that, it gives an espresso short at 24.991. The market went as low as 24.965, only to then recover, which meant that you would have been underwater. Sorry, wrong button. Just messing up my hotkeys. You would have been out of pocket by 12 points on the espresso. Not pleasant. After you had just been plus 26 points. So you've gone from plus 26 to minus 12, at which point the market then declines. And you would have been plus as much as 90, which is certainly fulfilling the desire for a 40-point risk to 40-point reward. That's the best I can do this morning with the information I got. Now it is up to the market to tell me what it wants to do. As always, I do like to keep an eye on the daily chart. We had perhaps, you could argue, we got a spike and channel on the daily chart, would you say? So you can sort of make out a channel here. And so if we begin to do some hocus pocus on the channel itself, the range, the move down was 1,500 points. We have then gone down 1,300 points. Just these are just rough. And then on the way up, you saw 1,200 up, 600 down. So that's a 50% retracement. So if that follows that pattern there within this, then we could probably see the market. Well, perhaps I'm more interested in what is the 50% retracement. And you can see that yesterday we actually hit the 50% retracement. So that's important too. You see that the high down to low, the two-day rallies that we saw on Wednesday and Tuesday, they actually retraced 50% and it just went above the range. So we can then do the same. The push that we had higher on Tuesday up to yesterday's high, where are we in context of that? Well, I think I said that to you moments ago. We're right now trading at the 50% retracement. So you could argue, well, there's some balance to the market now. Does that change my story? Perhaps a little. Perhaps the inside bar of the school run needs to be traded as an anti. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, what I do know is that I got a gap down. I'm just checking, did the FTSE give me an opportunity? No. What I do know is that today is Thursday. I know that I had a gap down, which I did. I also know that the first 15-minute bar was negative. I also know that the second bar is positive, but I know that the second bar is an inside bar. 1 second. I'm just running an analysis. So what I want to show you here is that if I run that analysis using those parameters, I get this. So there are 174 days. And just want to double check something. I think I made a mistake in the sorry, I found a mistake in the program. I just need to make a note of that. I get people saying that I'm muted on YouTube. Let me just try and find out what's going on. Am I muted? Yeah. Hello? 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 Testing? Testing? I know what's been happening. I know what's been happening. There was a Windows up. There was a Windows up. There was a Windows update. There was a Windows update, and that Windows update has clearly just reset all the settings. I see it also in Telegram, and I wonder if it's the same for um. Did you see the FTSE just went down to my buy zone? Damn. Do I restart everything, or is everything okay now? So you haven't heard a word I said. Okay. Well, that's a bit of a shame. All right. Well, we'll have to deal with this later. apparently you did hear me on Telegram, but how did you hear me on Telegram? Because there was... Anyway, I won't speculate on that. But what I was talking about was, how do I want to trade the school run? And how do I want to trade the FTSE? I would like to be a buyer of the FTSE down in this area here. As for the DAX chart, do I want to be a buyer or a seller down here? In other words, do I want to buy 24,923, or do I want to sell short 24,923? If I buy it, it's the anti-school run, and if I sell, it's conventional. FTSE is not giving me an opportunity yet. So what I tried to show you, and I don't think you heard that because, well, so this is becoming real now. The low was 24.7. The real low is 23.8. So you can expect 23.8 to be touched somehow. I can't rely on my data source because there is a mistake. I have asked for the filtering to give me anything where the first buy is negative and the second buy is positive on a Thursday on a gap down, and it is returning the wrong data. So I'm handing that over. It's tempting to be a buyer of the DAX here, based on what you just saw on a 15-minute chart, you could argue that this was a retest of this of the low, which is why I want to trade it, leaning on trading it as an anti because it's an inside bar. However, when you look at the 5-minute bar, you got to say, all right, Poindexter, don't be in such a rush because bar 6, you see bar 6 here, which is the push off the lows. Bar 6 has defined a trading range between 977 and 927. Give or take, yeah? And so bar 7, 8, 9, 10, excuse me, and now 11 are inside bars. Which means that if we get up to 977, yeah, sorry, but we're going to have to trade that as an anti as well. Thank you, Philip. I usually have a stop loss of around 100 points, and then I adjust it quite quickly. So, but thanks for looking out for me. Generally appreciated. You'll notice now that, well, I'm pointing it out to you. This push up, if you draw on that, you'll see how bar 10 closes below. So now actually you have to ask, is this telling us that the FTSE is going back down again? And we should be short below 10. You sense a real, not just in me, but in the market, you sense a real degree of hesitation. Now that I did that analysis on bar 6, I'm almost inclined to say, I wonder if that idea that I wanted to be long should instead be, maybe you need to be short. It'll be interesting to see where this bar 11 closes on the FTSE, and if there's then follow through either way. Okay, so we have technically a long signal being issued in school run at 977. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell short. Oh, okay. Actually, give me a chance, because I want to trade this as a trading range, i.e. trade it as an anti, which I think I can justify with bar 2 being an inside bar. I think I just did miss my best entry, but perhaps I'm getting an opportunity now. I am shorting the DAX here. So I'm trading the DAX breakout of bar 2 as an anti. Let me just post that. No. That's 24,980. I'm going to have a stop loss at 25,040. Buy 11 recovered, but I never got my opportunity. Well, it depends on, you could argue I was a prick for a tick. But let's see so far, my short position basis on the 5-minute trading range, well, it isn't holding up. So I want to see where bar 12 closes. Unfortunately, I can't rely on my normal software because I definitely found a bug. But we'll see. I am, as they say, I am in it now. On the account side, I was trading with you yesterday when Andy was trading, and that worked out well. So thank you, Andy. I just realized that also I'm trading smaller size than I normally would. That might just be a good omen for me in case this does go wrong, because I normally trade this in 30. And today I'm just trading it in 20. As I said, it seems like the Windows update just killed all the normal settings. And there you go. There you go on the FTSE. Didn't get the buy opportunity. I'm glad that I didn't sell short either. I wanted to be a buyer around 688 to 680. Didn't get the opportunity. And right now I'm short on an appreciation of a trading range settled from bar 6 to bar 11. And we are breaking out above it, and we are actually also breaking above the second bar, which is the school run bar, the signal bar. But it is an inside bar, and when you do have an inside bar as the signal bar, you don't have as high odds of a push higher. And so today I opted for doing the opposite, which is coming back as well. But you know as well as I that we can't judge a position just yet. We gotta give the market a moment to decide. What we also need to do now is we need to consider, well, let's say that we're wrong. What could be a possible outcome? Well, one possible outcome could be that the market goes back down to our entry point and we begin to see green over here. And then if I was going to do it like on a screenshot, ignore that. It'll be something along the lines of, we go down and we retest this area here. Maybe we get a harmonic retracement of this down here. So maybe we do something like this and then go up. So we are now in positive. So that scenario just unfolded here. We just got to be mindful of it. We just got to be mindful that, okay, we do seem to have a pattern here that is repeating. Do you see this? This line here and this line here, they are equal in size. And so if that's the case, maybe we're just going to go down to, 24,950 and then reverse. So I'm certainly not, just because I was in profit for a little bit, doesn't make me think, oh, I did the right thing. And I don't want to risk I see here that I haven't reflected my stop loss. Here, let me just do that. So all the DAX is really doing now is coming back into the area where we broke above bar 6. So it's a real grindy market. You could say, well, the real runner was if you managed to get up early. You could also argue that, I don't know if you ever heard of a Gartley pattern, but I'm sure you have. You could also argue, well, hang on, this is the impulse down, and then this is just an oopsie doopsie. Give me a line here. This is an A, B, C. I am photoshopping this out, why not? And so this is just pattern recognition, and we just hit a 50% retracement. So that could also fit the picture very well, which case we will be headed back down again. Yeah. So I don't feel necessarily confident in this position, but I don't think it's the wrong position to be in either. I am just extremely mindful that what I am dealing with here is most certainly not a momentum move. This is not a typical Tom Hugard, all right, let's hammer the shit out of this because momentum is pushing lower, lower, lower. You just keep adding. This is a real thinking position. And of course, I prefer to trade the former because the latter is slower. Slow. It's very slow. It's incredible how I like to channel Austin Powers whenever I'm talking to you. Her naughty. Although it does sound like Alan Rickman when I am tired in my voice. Hello, I'm Alan Rickman. If you don't know who Alan Rickman is, he is the villain in Die Hard. He is playing a German. Karl, Schießstephenchen. That? Shoot the windows. Can't quite hide that distinguished English accent. Please take a look at the FTSE. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at it. What am I looking at? I think I've done an exhaustive analysis already, Michael. Stanislav wants us to pray for the DAX to go down. Perhaps I'm not quite prepared to go all datey on you. It is, after all, just a trade. But I am beginning to wonder if this scenario that I described, that this is just a retest, is playing out, in which case I don't want to risk that much. So I'm going to move my stop loss to 25,010. Yeah, do you see what I just did there? I'm looking at the 1 minute chart, and I see a pattern, and that is calling for a a test of the lows, but I decided to move my stop loss much closer, because if we take out the highs that we just saw here, that was made about 10 minutes ago, then to me, this is just a retracement like what we saw here. So we're now beginning to build higher lows and higher highs, and the sell-off is complete. And if that's the case, which it is, I have lost 30 points. And as it happens, I'm not upset. I'm just going, okay, I took a chance on the inside bar. It didn't work out. It worked out a little bit, but my concern was absolutely validated, and the bulls won this one. Okay, stopped out minus what, 30? Let me just double check that on my transaction. Minus from 80.7 to 11, yeah, 30 points, I would say, maybe 31 points. Stopped out minus, we call it 31 points. Update. Traditional school run word. What's interesting to me that I'm taking away from this is I was expressing a desire to be a buyer of the DAX down here. And I want to show you on a 5-minute chart, because I think that deserves attention. Bar 10 double bottomed the low of 4 and 5, which is where the school run signal bar takes place here. Yeah. And I said, when you have an inside bar, which bar, what bar 2 is, the second 15-minute bar, then you really do have evidence to suggest that it's better to trade it as an anti. But bar 4 on the 15 didn't go below. It didn't. And perhaps that was also that cue I should have taken, saying, okay, you weren't able, the bears weren't even able to force a retest of the lows of 4 and 5. And perhaps I should have reflected that and going, that's a sign of strength on the bulls, so don't bet against them. Then we saw a retest of my entry. You know, I went short here at 24,978. I actually went long at 80, but that's beside the point. We then went about 20 points higher, but then we come back down again. But what's interesting here is that we come back down about 32 points. But if you see the last retracement, it's a bit more, about 43 points. But it sort of gives us a sense of maybe I made a strategic mistake by wanting to sell short where I did. And now it's clear to everybody that the bulls won this battle. So there you go. So what do I do now? Well, I certainly missed the boat in the FTSE. Didn't get that opportunity I wanted to. Why do I want it to be a buyer down here at 6? Well, because the way I look at it is that bar 6 is a breakout bar. And can I just, by the way, you know the saying that you win some and you lose some? Am I upset that we missed this? Under the circumstances of how I feel this morning, I think I did a pretty stellar job of analyzing my way through the charts, and that's not me trying to big myself up. I'm talking to myself now. Would you have done anything differently? No, I don't think I would. It just, you know, I didn't get the entry I wanted to in the FTSE. But why was I so interested in this? Well, bar 6 to me is a breakout bar. 3, 4, and 5 I see as retracement bars. Now, some would argue that bar 4 is a bull bar. I get it. Absolutely. And you can also argue that that in itself could have been a buy bar. But to me, bar 6 is an interesting one because that's where we break higher. The FTSE then does what it does. And so I mark out 106.82 as the low where I want to be a buyer. But then I take the high of the last bar before the breakout bar, which is bar 5, and I draw a line there. And you see, I'm waiting for 106.88, and I don't quite get it. I don't get the market coming into this zone. So am I being a dick for a tick? Yeah. Yeah, I probably could be accused of. So that was the DAX. Sorry, that was the FTSE. In the DAX, as I just explained, you have an inside bar as bar 2. That's this bar here. And it is an inside bar. And what I think my mistake was here was to not interpret bar 4 as bullish on the 15, because it actually does test the bar 2 low. But the bulls are holding off the bears that can't even get a tick below bar 2. And so it's little details like that. While it may not have served you in this session, at least you get a greater appreciation the next time. All right, let me just, there seems to be some messages coming in I don't quite understand. So, hi Tom, I'm not sure if the audio is working. It is now. Let me just test Divergent. Divergent working? Divergent is definitely working, without a doubt. Okay. Please take the FTSE aboard. Of course. Okay. Yeah, I would say everything is okay. Philip is saying, why did the school run not trigger or show up on the FTSE? Because we don't have school run FTSE. You have never, ever heard me talk about school run in the FTSE. Ever. Are you listening in to YouTube? Oh, he is. Okay. FTSE is not a school run index. All right, let's see. So failed breakout, look for long. Yeah, I would say so, Johan. You know, you can sort of interpret it as who won the battle? Did the bulls just create a trap for the bears, or could you say, well, the bears didn't manage to push below the low, and then you get the breakout above above bar 6 high, and then you get a little retest. And so yours truly probably should have read that differently. Roy, I don't know how you created that as quickly as you did, but Rory just sent me this, and I think it's sort of inspired by what I was talking about. I think that the difference between Austin Powers and Alan Rickman. Ho, now I have a gun. Could also be Austin Powers, Dr. Evil. Great image there, Rory. Thank you, man. So where are we now in the bigger picture? Well, let's have a look at it, because we still may have an opportunity. So we retraced 32, and we just retraced body to body 35. Could we be buyers here? Yeah, we probably could. I think I'd like to do it, but in a smaller size. So I'm buying the DAX here, but now I'm doing it in really small size. And this is based on a equal retracement are in the DAX, where the last swing down on 1 minute was 32, and body to body is 35. But it does feel like a real grindy session. So I have a tiny little position in the DAX, just 10 lots, absolutely nothing spectacular. And I'm going to place the stop loss below the low of the breakout bar on the 5-minute chart. So would you like me to go through that one again? I measure. It was Bryce Gilmore that taught me this technique. He called it a 1-to-1, except he didn't call it a 1-to-1. Like, think Australian accent. It's a fucking 1-to-1, Tom, in it. No, not in it. It's a fucking 1-to-1. You gotta fucking buy it. So the first retracement is 40 points. Then you have another retracement of 44 points. If you have my software, you just hold the M button. And then the next one is 30 points. And the last retracement we just had here was 40 points. It sort of gives you an idea. Some would call it point counting. I'm not sure I would call it point count. I would just go, right, it's a way in a trend to measure the strength of the retracements. I'm not going to spin gold on this position, am I? And it was more just to illustrate the concept of it. I can't really pay the bills on a 10 lot. Sometimes the FTSE can be just so annoying. Could we do the same in the FTSE? Yeah, why not? Why don't we look at it? Why don't we look at the retracements? You know, we're here. 17 down. This is not going to be 17 down, I assure you of that. 12 down. 19 down. 16 down. Well, 34 points in the DAX. Not too shabby, is it? Well, what did we lose on the first one? We lost 31 points. Stop loss can be moved to break even if you did follow me on this trade here. What version do you have, Andre? So say that if I hold down the M button, and then I drag the mouse, yeah. Does that work? Okay, so answer my question. What version do you have? The latest? Well, what you could do, Andre, is you can say, is there down in your left corner a button saying please update? And Camille is now contributing to the pictures. And that is our beloved David Paul. That's funny. Hang on, I just need to find an address. Support. What's the what's the trade from chart support link, please? What is the support? What's the support name? Andre, you think you got the address? Yeah, but that's the link to the channel. But what's the support to write to you? There we go, TFC support. Got it. That's the one, Andre, thank you. Okay, also, okay, so you can hold down L and you can hold down R as well. And I'm having a couple of more developed. Andre said he has a German keyboard. I don't know. Josh, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Philip. So Philip says, Philip, I said, we don't do school run on FTSE, and he says, wow, what a brain fart from my side. That's very sweet.